Hey guys, I'd like to welcome everybody back to Uni 103 Career Development, and I'm hoping that everybody has had a good week and a good weekend. From the looks of it, everybody's turned in all the work that was supposed to be turned in, so I definitely applaud everybody for staying on track. I do know that it can be a little bit overwhelming right now, especially because of the 8 week point in the midterm. Um, a lot of things tend to happen with multiple classes, and we all know that professors tend to pick usually the same dates for everything that ends up being due. So it is not easy to pick up a second 8 weeks class. So what I'm trying to do is make sure that we can pack everything into the 8 weeks time frame and it not be too much of an overwhelming class, and it's just an addition to everything else that you're kind of taking. And I definitely don't want it to be like a hard class. The point of the class, especially for those who hadn't heard of it or maybe considered it in the past, which I know a few of you are freshmen and a few are upper class, but um, it's meant to be a lot about, figuring out like what you want to major in and what that kind of entails. So it's meant to be a bit of a self-discovery kind of class. It's not going to be something that, you're going to have to find a textbook and scour for answers or anything like that. So I want it to be more about, kind of the journey and not anything that's just assigned for like busy work or things to kind of just keep you occupied. I didn't like that whenever I was a student, and I figured that you guys probably wouldn't like that either. So, with that being said, we're going to hop into what week two entails. And again, all this stuff will open up on midnight of Sunday each week, and also the following week's homework. That'll be, assignment folders will always be due at I think 11:59 on the following Sunday. So, like I said, I'm pretty sure everybody has their stuff in already, but if you didn't happen to, or you're figuring out when stuff would be due, it would be due at 11:59 on Sunday, and then new stuff would unlock for the next week at midnight on that Sunday. So always try to give you guys a solid week to be able to do all this stuff, and I think that that's a pretty good time frame. So if you ever come across any questions or any issues, just let me know. So we're into the week two folder. What we cover for this week is a career assessment called My Next Move. It is designed by ONET, and it's been around for quite a while, but the content of it has been relatively the same. Um, I started doing career stuff and teaching Uni 103 back when I first started this job with Student Support Services in 2013. And my next move really hasn't changed all that much. It's been used a lot with career services and the Office of Career Education. And luckily, it has been pretty much the same because it uses the same type of foundation. So what I'm going to do is I've put everything in the folder in chronological order that you would be using. So the first link is for My Next Move. So when you click it, it actually brings it up into a new window, so you can go through it and not have to lose, where you were at in Blackboard. I tried to do that for all the postings to open up into a new window so that it wouldn't cause, a lot of confusion or anything. So um, My Next Move, it is a 60 question assessment tool. And what it does is it breaks it down into different categories. And if you couldn't figure out when you're going through the 5 pages of it, the different categories have different colors. And depending on what you answer and how you answer it, it will give you points for different categories. So what happens is you go through and you look at a statement, and the top one here says set up and operate machines to make products. So I did it, based on what I would like to do or kind of like what my interest would be. So this goes way beyond just majoring in something. Just as a quick side note, whenever I was in high school, career counselors and guidance counselors, they tended to be very like linear. It was point A to point B. They would say, what's your favorite subject or what's your best subject? And let's say that, subject ended up being science. So I would say I really like science. I love, biology, chemistry, all this stuff. And so they would say, oh, you should definitely go into, something science based. So you should be a doctor. You should definitely go into pre-med. And so that's actually what I started out my undergrad career as was pre-med because a career counselor at my high school was like, hey, you have really good science scores like on ACT and you have great grades in those classes. So you should do it. And of course I was like, that sounds great, so I guess I'll do it. Um, Come to find out, freshman year, there's a big difference between science classes at high school and science classes at the collegiate level, and it rocked my world really hard. So needless to say, I did not do well in that. I actually had to do a DNF repeat on two classes, and luckily that was an option, because I wasn't ready for it by far. But it goes beyond here on my next move, beyond like that linear path, like I was saying, because it asks you what you like to do in response to these statements. So there's tasks on here, such as edit movies or sing in a band or manage a clothing store. You are going to put how well you like that statement or how well you would like to do that activity in the workforce on a Likert scale. And their Likert scale is a bunch of smileys. So, of course, far left, you wouldn't want to do that at all. You wouldn't be caught dead. For me, singing in a band, I would not. I would not want to do that day in and day out. Um, it goes from that to like iffy to unsure to hey, I like that, or hey, this is really what I really like. Um, so, for instance, there was one on, I think it's the first page. It says something like work in construction or building homes. I absolutely love doing home repairs, home renovations, anything landscaping, I mean, inside or outside a house. So I put absolutely, I would love that. So I was the far right smiley for that. Some of these statements, of course, like putting out a forest fire, I mean, I would probably like to do that. It would be pretty neat to do, and I think it'd be challenging. So I put, the fourth out of fifth one for the Likert scale. Other things, as you go through, they want you to rate it as if your career depended on it. So I've gone through and actually done all these for the demonstration for the class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit next because I'm finished with all my career assessment profiler questions. And when I hit next, it'll say, do you want to return to the first page and view any unsure answers? Um, it highly encourages you to stay away from like the middle answer of unsure. So if you want to, you can. If not, it'll still do an assessment based on what you've given. So I'm going to hit next. What it is giving is six different letters, and you guys probably don't have to know kind of the back story behind these letters, but they actually fall into a guy named Holland and his typology. He was huge into career counseling and career assessment, so he came up with these six different areas that people would fall into. If you've taken a psychology class, you know that psychology and the social sciences, they are absolutely into falling into categories. They love putting people into developmental stages, different things of like, life cycle, different areas of categories. So Holland said, hey, people fall into these six categories. What you can do is you can actually click on each one of them, and I highly encourage you to do that because you'll probably want to click on the ones where you get the highest factors to see. And I think I actually used to be an RIA, and maybe now I'm an RIS, but I can't remember. Um, but yeah, so I clicked on realistic, and realistic was the green category questions. And those fall into things where people do not like careers that involve paperwork or working closely with others. So it says they like working with plants and animals, materials that you can do with your hands, wood, tools, machineries, outside work. So yes, although I score really high in this, if I wouldn't have went into something mental health or psychology related, I probably would have gone to something like that to be like a contractor or something. So it's funny because this falls into like what I actually do outside of work. If I'm not doing something with like video games or outside hiking or doing some, shooting, fishing, anything outdoorsy, then I am actually kind of looking around for some sort of house projects or things to upgrade and improve because I love improving things. And I think that actually falls into like my category of my career because I like seeing people want to be improved. So I'm a big helper. So realistically, it does fall into kind of those categories. Obviously, my highest one is going to be investigative. So when you click that, it's searching for facts and figuring out problems. And I'm sorry, somebody's actually group messaging about an upcoming birthday, so it's popping up in my corner. So just disregard that. Um, so yeah, investigative tasks would be something like searching out facts or figuring out problems. Totally falls into the social sciences because um, that's what you're there to help people out with. You're not there to tell people what to do, you're there to actually help people out with figuring out problems. um, so it actually goes into that's the highest one for me. It fits right with my career path. That's what I'm doing. My second, my third highest one actually would be social. um, Social is funny because it actually says that we like working more with people than objects, which is funny because that kind of conflicts the R factor. But they do things like teach, give advice, help and being service people. So between investigative and social, it seems like it is a pretty great hybrid for me to be in mental health counseling or college counseling because those are, two factors that actually line up right. Um, so my lowest one was artistic, and obviously, I am not going to be doing like what my fiance does, like being on a stage and performing in front of people. She loves to do that in her spare time. Um, I played the guitar for a little bit, but I'm not going to be on like mountain stage anytime soon. So it falls into this as, what do you want to do for 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life? So yeah, I'm not going to be painting. I'm not going to be doing stage work or anything like that. Same thing with conventional. It says, they work with information. And really, I think that all the blue ones for conventional ended up being something like finance or accounting. Spreadsheets, I love spreadsheets for stuff that I need to do, but do I want to do that for 40 hours a week, day in and day out? No, I don't. So I think that the results are pretty accurate. I've set up some things where I'd like to hear your all's results later, so we'll touch on that. The second part of this, after you hit next, is how much you want to put into education, training, and experience. So it goes into different job zones. And when you click it, it'll say that you want to focus on like, how high would you want to go for your desired career with your jobs. So, if we're talking about going into like a doctorate level for something, you want an extensive job preparation. That's going to be a level 5. That's the highest. Little or no job preparation. We're talking about careers that maybe you don't even need maybe, like standardized education for. Maybe it's something that you work at Walmart and you actually move up the ladder and they would say, we don't need you to have a degree. We need you to have, 3 to 5 years of work experience. So something like little to no job preparation, it'll tell you, this might be something like a waiter, waitress, or a few days to a few months of training. You really won't see that kind of too often because obviously you guys are in college. So you're past the point of, like a high school diploma or GED. But the middle area is going to be where we're talking about an associate's degree or vocational school for training. So if we look at this scale, number one is like your kind of part-time job, maybe like retail or serving. Middle is going to be like an associate's. Four is going to be like a 4 year bachelor's degree. And then on up for five is going to be, like a master's, PhD, something like that. So click on the one that you know that you would go to. If you know that you would never go into a doc program, pick number four. If you know that you would want to go into a doc program or something, go into number five. So when you go through it, I'm gonna put job zone four for mine for right now because we're talking about what we need for that kind of below PhD master's level. So we're talking about a bachelor's. So you guys could pick job zone four because you're going to be finishing, your undergrad education. So when we click that, this screen right here is actually what I'm wanting you guys to screenshot for this assignment. First assignment is the My Next Move results upload. So it says, please upload a screenshot for your assessment results. If you can't upload a screenshot, just type in what you have here. So I'm looking for, you could either copy and paste or take a screenshot of your four RIASEC, your Holland codes, and what values you have, and then your job zone that you're going to pick. So what I would do is, I would screenshot this right here because it shows all my values and the level that I'm going into for the job zone. If you can't, like I said, copy and paste it or just type it in there for the assignment here, and then submit it. So after you pick all that, hit next, and this is where the magic happens. This is where it tells you exactly what jobs are best suited for your six values and your job zone. So one is an exercise physiologist. To me, that actually sounds pretty cool. Like I like to be, active and fit. And it's kind of a blend between, being on your feet, working with people, working also with instruments, but also a pretty rewarding and fulfilling job. So, it really narrowed it down to saying all these different, probably like eight or 10. And the more picky that you are, the less that you'll actually see because it does a good job of narrowing it down. But when I click exercise physiologist, it will link me to ONET's page of what they do, what knowledge they need to have, what you'll be doing on the job, what kind of abilities do you need to actually do your job very well. So it breaks it down into, personality. Like you need to be dependable, you need to have a concern for others, and you actually need to be social and you need to talk to people for this. What kind of technology would I be using? Well, I'd be using like a scheduling software, probably for appointments and stuff. Excel, maybe to track progress for, patients, and some sort of way to contact people. So email or Microsoft Outlook. If you go on down, it tells you what kind of level you're looking at for your education. And it'll say, if you want to get started on your career, you can find all these things. So it links to a lot of different things on here. But it says, here's your job outlook. This is your median salary. So somebody on the lowest end pulled in, 34,000. Somebody on the highest end pulled in 78,000. So they meet in the middle and they say this is your median job outlook for your salary. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that this actually has a bright job outlook right here. So it is looking like within the next 5 years, this job's really going to be around and it's going to boom. So some jobs you'll click and they won't have a bright outlook, but this one actually does. So it's a good kind of safe bet to go into a field like that. What I would like you guys to do though is when you're clicking around on all these different things, especially for one of the upcoming assignments also in week 2, which is going to be the online job shadowing response paper. Um, I would prefer it if you guys would go through and watch the career video. I don't know how long they are because I don't want to click it. It's been a while since I've actually clicked it, but I don't want to click it and it kind of mess up the screen recording. But go through because it is going to show you, what they do on the job and basically a summary of everything here. So I'm going to close out of this one and go back to ONET and click on another one just in case. So um, let's say we're going to go into an occupational health and safety specialist. So we're talking about like OSHA, if anybody's ever heard of that. Um, Same stuff, and it has an average outlook. So the last one said bright. This one says average, so it's not exactly booming, but it's not going anywhere. So it's an average outlook. Um, Dramatically different salary. We're talking on the bottom range of 43,000 to the upper range of 111,000. So actually a six-figure salary job. And it tells you, everything again, the technology you would need, the skills, um, also anything like you're trying to do. So you're going to help protect workers from potentially hazardous work methods or processes. So go through and watch some of those career videos on the fields that you're thinking about, or maybe on the fence about, because I think it really will help kind of narrow down some job ideas, for what you're wanting to do. I do encourage you to go back through and maybe change a job zone. Maybe if you want to go to job zone 5 and see what at the doctorate level, what kind of jobs would it be offering. Apparently, for master's and doc level, it really opens up the field. Um, so we're talking about like much more choices to go into than just the job zone 4. So yeah, click around on those, and you can always come back and actually put in. I believe you can put in your results. So if you needed to, come back here, you can always save or hang on to that screenshot with your 6 result factors because it's going to tell you, which jobs are going to be more recommended for you. So you'll get a lot of experience with that. But so we're going to keep going. So again, that linked you to my next move. The first one did. The second one, what I want you to do is upload your results, whether it's a screenshot or typing them in manually. On the discussion, I want you guys to kind of piggyback off of mine and say, did the results match up with what you're expecting for your jobs? Did it match up with your personality? Those 6, different Holland code factors. Um, and I also want to know what possible career options did you see that you would like to actually pursue as a career. So in this class, we have some people, I think the majority of students in the class are undecided. So we are wanting to know, what kind of paths could you go down? Like 3 or 2 possible paths for careers. Um, I always say that, the more choices actually that are out there, the harder it makes it to narrow down on you. Um, some people are, better off going to a place that offers, like 3 or 5 ice cream flavors. If you go to Baskin Robbins, we're talking 31 flavors, and there's just so many to choose from that it might be such a long process for you to actually narrow it down. Because then we're talking, you could go from like 31 to 20 to 15 to 10 to 5 to 2, and then who knows how long that's going to take. Um, so what I want to know is, what possible career options did you see that you'd like to pursue? Maybe like 2 or 3. If you are locked into your major, I would really be curious to see what other options would come up. I've known people, especially that would go through and get a degree and then end up changing it and go back to school and get another one. And that's because they go out and they work for like a year in what they thought was going to be their dream job and they hate it. They had no experience, they had no job shadowing to see what it was like. They only knew it from a book and lecture standpoint. So I would like to know what some backup choices would be if you are kind of locked into your major. So the next assignment for week 2 is going to be an online job shadowing response paper. So COVID has graciously made everything a little bit harder for this year, and uh, typically this would be a second 8 weeks class or a first 8 weeks class for me, where we would meet in person and we could do all this kind of stuff together and have discussions. Um, but for this time around, it has caused a career and community service standpoint to be very difficult to do stuff. So we are kind of tweaking it around to be an online job shadowing resource response paper because a lot of places right now are not accepting people to come shadow. Hospitals are very strict right now. They are on a basis of maybe one visitor or no visitors at all. And really, if you don't have somebody there that you're meant to see, or if you don't work there, they're saying, you can't just come hang out. It's a risky situation, and it's very bad if you're, part of like the vulnerable public. Um, so with that being said, this link here is going to actually link you to a website where you can click and look through different careers to see what job shadowing would be like. So imagine it as, being able to interview somebody in that field. Because normally for this assignment, I would have you go job shadow somebody and be able to talk to them one on one and ask them kind of a set amount of questions. Because we need to know when we're looking at different careers and fields, what does it involve? What's the best part? What's the worst part? What kind of education do you need to get into this? And what's, something that would be a part of your job that is not described in the major as you're going through it. Kind of the ins and outs. So this website is really handy because it's jobshadow.com. I'm going to click one just as an example because I sent you the link to open up all the categories. So let's say we go into careers and education. So ironically enough, the top one is an interview with a university career counselor. So when you click on it, we are going to go through and actually read what she responded to interview questions with. So it says, what does your work entail? What's a typical week like? How'd you get into this field? What was your education background? What do you like? What do you dislike? What's your salary like? And what's the most challenging thing? So they go into so many things in depth that actually it would be pretty much just like being able to interview somebody one on one. So this is a really handy resource to be able to see what a career path entails without having to go out and interview somebody or watch them. So for week 2, we're going back to it on Blackboard. That link links you to jobshadowing.com. And for the response paper, what I'm really looking for is at least a one-page response and reflection about a job that you'd possibly like to do as a career. So when we're tweaking it to be able to do stuff, for the online and virtual part of job shadowing, I would say your best bet would be to use the jobshadowing.com, the ONET results, and clicking on and watching the career path video. And if you're still stuck really by that time trying to figure out the ins and outs of somebody's career, I would say go to YouTube and actually try to look around and type in and see if you could find something like maybe a vlog about somebody on the job or a day in the life of, or maybe somebody would upload, an interview with somebody for a job. It is really hard to tell, but I will say, from me, just being able to look on ONET and clicking on stuff like this to get, salaries and skills and everything, and then going to jobshadow.com to be able to see an interview with somebody, I believe that being able to at least get a one-page response and reflection should be relatively easy. I also included five different kind of maybe topic points to kind of get the engine going. Um, so I included some questions like, what is your educational background, typical day in the life, ballpark figure for a salary, and what kind of job info is beneficial for somebody to know about that's going into that field. So I think between all those talking points and the resources, it should be kind of a breeze for an assignment. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on students that upload the assessment and for this response paper to see how it's going. And as the week goes on, I will definitely add some more resources if anybody needs it. So I'm gonna be digging around too to see because normally career services would kind of help out with some stuff with the class, and um, it is different because things are online and virtual now because of COVID. So we're just going to roll with it and see how it goes. And I'm going to keep an eye on it throughout the week. I do check on the class probably at least an hour every day, but then I really focus in towards the end of the week to see how everybody's doing and respond back to discussion posts and grade assessments and assignments and give you guys feedback for stuff. So please feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Um, the final thing I want to leave you with is that when we're talking about careers and everything, I mentioned before, it's kind of the magic number of like 40. It's 40 hours a week and about 40 years for a career. So be kind of open-minded about careers and stuff. And it is very easy for people to kind of point you into the direction of maybe a career. Maybe grandma and grandpa said, um, there's never been a doctor in the family, and they really want you to be the first one. Although you don't want to disappoint somebody, the name that's going to be on your bachelor's degree or MD, and the name also that comes in the mail for your student loan repayment letters is going to be yours. So, you have to take some ownership into it, and it's going to be something that you want to do. Like I said, I've seen people fall in and out of careers, and I've seen people go through 4 years of school because, their principal said, oh, you should really do law school. And then within like the first year, they found out that that's not their passion, that's their principal's passion. And they're trying to follow somebody else's passion and put their name on it, and it just doesn't work. Um, so I've seen people go through and actually change their careers and go back because, they hated their 4 year degree path. And I've seen students that go into a major such as like English and end up going to law school. And it wasn't an option that they thought about, but then they, took like an LSAT prep and they really liked it and then they passed it. So there's definitely different ways to get to different career paths. Some of them are really pretty much set in stone, but others are kind of flexible. So just keep that in mind as you're going through and looking for different careers and getting information about those for your response paper, because we're talking about a long time commitment. And I think everybody knows that, like my generation, and especially your all's generation, everybody kind of the boomer age, they tell us that we are committophobes, like we aren't locking stuff down, we skip around, and we don't want to lock into a commitment because we're too afraid of it. So we want to know that this is actually something that we need to lock into, and at least know that what we're going to get our 4-year degree in is going to apply to what we want to do for that extended period of time. Because we don't want to go through and have any regrets, right? We don't want to go through and wish that we had done this or changed that or majored in this and not listened to so and so. So I'm going to stop rambling and actually end the lecture. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. I'm definitely accessible by email, but you can also chat with me on Teams or request like a meeting on there too. So I'll let you guys get to it, and feel free to give me any feedback or ask any questions on the way.